Welcome to the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. Let's hear about C.J. Stroud's development and where he is as a quarterback from C.J. Stroud. We'll talk about if he's offended that he's not been named the starting quarterback just yet, how exactly he got so good at the accuracy element of his game, plus some other things from expected to be official soon, one day, QB1 C.J. Stroud. If you haven't already, I would appreciate a thumbs up, a like on the video here down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't before. And, of course, check out Houston Football, my website where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans, www.houfootball.com. There's a link in the description down below. So let's hear from C.J. Stroud. He's going down the franchise quarterback route. Now, if you've consumed anything on this channel, you know that I don't feel like a guy is a franchise QB until he proves that he's a franchise QB. But the investment is there, and that's the path that C.J. Stroud is headed down. I compare it to what Davis Mills was going through and the opportunity he had in front of him. Mills was not going to be a franchise quarterback. He'd be maybe a nice stopgap quarterback for a few years if he reached his full potential and played really, really well. C.J. Stroud, though, he's taking these steps down the road to become the franchise quarterback. That's certainly the hope over the next year plus with the Houston Texans, that Stroud becomes that franchise quarterback. He's not yet the franchise QB for the Houston Texans, and he's not yet the starter for the Houston Texans officially yet either. Now, Stroud has been taking the first-team reps and only first-team reps for weeks now. He's been the first quarterback in the first preseason game. He's been the first quarterback in the second preseason game. When the third preseason game gets here on Sunday, he will be the first quarterback out there. C.J. Stroud is going to start in Baltimore week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. So, does it bother C.J. Stroud with all of the reps that he's taken with the first team? Does it bother him that the team hasn't named him the starting quarterback just yet?
Oh, nah, man, I ain't really tripping. I'll just do it. It's on my plate. I'm not worried about nobody else's plate. I got to focus on what we got going on in this locker room, and it's getting better every day, man. It's not about any of that stuff, man. It's about competing every day and just getting better. So whenever that time is about to come, that's not my job. You know what I'm saying? My job is to go out there and play. So I got the fun stuff to do.
I thought that was a great answer from C.J. Stroud. It doesn't bother him, and ultimately, you have to imagine, you know when you're doing well at work, you know when you're doing poor at work, and you know when something that you needed to accomplish is on the horizon, even though your boss hasn't told you that you've accomplished that just yet. That's kind of where C.J. Stroud is right now in his development and progress to be the starter of the Houston Texans. Look, again, he's going to start in Baltimore. He's going to be quarterback 1. I don't know why the announcement hasn't come yet. I don't know what the holdup is. Perhaps there's some big announcement or some big moment that the Texans want to take advantage of with C.J. Stroud. No announcement officially making C.J. Stroud quarterback 1, but I would anticipate that at some point before Baltimore, it will become official that C.J. Stroud is QB number 1. So I'm not breaking any news there to you, and I'm not giving you any sort of in-depth analysis that you can't already figure out. He takes the snaps with the first team. He's the first quarterback in the preseason games. He's QB number 1. Bobby Slowick spoke on Thursday as well, and he talked about how the game is starting to slow down for C.J. Stroud. You hear all of the great ones talk about how the game starts to slow down and how you get some of that input, you get to take it, you get to process it, and then you start to see things easier and easier each and every time you go out there to play quarterback at the NFL level. Here's C.J. Stroud on, is the game slowing down for him at the quarterback spot?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every day, every week I'm taking strides. I think the progress from OTA, CJ, to now is night and day. I think Coach Slow and Coach Stroud and Bill Lazor and Shane Day have done a great job of putting a lot on my plate early. So as time has gone on, that I've been able to be more and more comfortable in the offense and being a shot caller and just having that swagger confidence that I know I can play with. So and making things the way I like it and the way we like to do it as an offense. So I think I've taken a lot of great strides, but just want to grow way more.
That's one of the biggest things about not only these preseason games, the joint practices last week, and the first couple of weeks of the NFL regular season. And it's a thing that is really important to young quarterbacks. Right now, CJ Stroud has, 30 reps in a game, in an NFL game, to go off of, to think about, to process, to comb through, and then whatever they do in practice and joint practices. But there's clearly a differentiation between how things operate in practice to how things operate in a game. So getting that information, the more input, the more data that CJ Stroud experiences, the more he goes through, the easier it's going to be for him to process it, the easier it's going to be for him to go through, pick out little things about his game, because it's not just, hey, you get to this level, the regular season's here, and then you stop. Like, he's going to get a tremendous amount of information dumped onto him in the post game and the days after the Ravens game in week 1, the Colts game in week 2, the Jaguars game in week 3, the Steelers game in week 4. He's going to get a lot of information, so it'll be up to him, as well as the coaching staff, to sift through all of that, find the pieces of data, the nuggets from those games, and add those to the game of CJ Stroud. Add that to what CJ Stroud has brought to the table. And I think to, again, just see the improvement that he has put together from early days of training camp, where over the first 6 practices, he had 2 good days. He and Davis Mills were tied on 2 days, and Davis Mills won 2 days, to Stroud hasn't had a big step back in practice in weeks. He hasn't really even had a same as the previous day practice. Sure, there was a day with the joint practices where they looked really good the first day against Miami, and the second day the offense had a rough day. But even within that practice a couple of times, Stroud can adjust, change things. You see the improvement, and you sort of see as he gets more and more and more under his belt, the easier it is for him to improve, add small things. And oh, by the way, with the experience in the regular season comes a depth and a usefulness of the playbook as well. As they get deeper into the regular season, as they build a little bit more, as these guys get comfortable with each other as teammates, and oh, by the way, as everybody who's a starter plays with each other a ton in these games over the first few weeks of the season, that's where you really start to see, okay, what can CJ Stroud do from a processing standpoint, not just in the game. Obviously, you've got to process things in the game. You've got to get the guys set up pre-snap. You've got to go and make the plays. But how does he process information and input after games? And just seeing the jump from preseason game 1 to preseason game 2, it gives you a lot of hope that CJ Stroud has some really good processing to him in looking at his work, finding out what he does well, adding to that, finding out what he doesn't do well, and improving on that. Let's hear more from soon to be, we hope, announced QB1, but for now, just QB1 unofficial for week 1 against Baltimore. CJ Stroud, your accuracy. What's going on there? How is it so good? Why has your ball placement in practice and passing the ball to the wide receivers been praised so much?
I think that's something God blessed me with, was kind of the ability to see things before they happen. Not even see things before they happen, but just anticipate. And it's something that I pride myself on, is putting the ball where it needs to be and having my receivers do little to no work to catch it. So it's just trying to, I think most of that comes with just time and chemistry and connection with my receivers, and my tight ends and running backs. So just been trying to build that lately. I think we've done a good job with that as we're going in camp.
So one element about that is indeed you just need more opportunities, you need more time, you need more reps with your teammates to get those things going. But that was the scouting report on CJ Stroud coming into the 2023 NFL draft. And that was the thing that CJ Stroud did really well, was the accuracy, the ability to place the ball where he needs to place the ball. And that was a big positive to CJ Stroud's game. So to go in there in the first few weeks of the preseason and here headed into the regular season, to have seen that accuracy, to have seen him do that, is really exciting for the potential of C.J. Stroud. I think about the throw on the run to Noah Brown where he put it only where Noah Brown could have made the play. Bobby Slowick praised that throw on Thursday when we talked to the offensive coordinator of the team. And then I think about that Robert Woods sideline play on, I believe it was 3rd down against the Dolphins, that sideline play where he hits Robert Woods right there in the face mask on the sideline. It's a 1st down. You move the sticks. That is not a throw that has consistently been made at NRG Stadium by the starting quarterback since Matt Schaub was the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. 2012, not 2013 Matt Schaub. That wasn't very good. 2012 Matt Schaub. So 2012 was the last time that throw, that on the money, on time, where only the receiver can catch it throw, was consistently made by the quarterback. I'm not saying guys since Schaub haven't been able to make that throw, but to consistently make that throw, to hit that throw all the time, Schaub was the last guy to hit that throw all the time. We've seen it now in a game from C.J. Stroud. He's made that throw a ton in practice. That 7-8 yards, wide receiver heads for the sideline, boom, C.J. Stroud hits the guy right in stride as he's headed out. He's done that a ton, and I think back to a play from the Dolphins joint practice just to really kind of add to the accuracy conversation, to add to the ability to place the ball where he needs from C.J. Stroud. He had rolled out of the pocket to his left. Tank Dell was flying across the back of the end zone, and Stroud, if he's 1 second too late, 1 second too early, if he's a little bit off to the left, a little bit off to the right, that's an incomplete, but he just rockets that thing perfectly to Tank Dell. Dell's got just enough room in the corner of the end zone, touchdown Texans in that drill against the Dolphins in the red zone. It was a really impressive throw. It's one of the best throws he's made all of training camp, all of the preseason, and that was what you expected out of C.J. Stroud, the NFL quarterback, from day one, and he's shown that in spades so far. The accuracy is there. He's shown it a ton over the course of training camp, joint practices. We've seen it a little bit here in the games, and you hope to see that quite a bit in the regular season. But to get to the play, where you want to make one of those accurate throws, you got to call the play in the huddle. And Dameon Pierce last week talked about, hey, C.J. Stroud's had a fumble with a word here or there. And then when Bobby Slowick was asked about calling plays at the NFL level, he explained, hey, there's an art to it. It's not easy. It's actually one of the more difficult aspects of the job. And Davis Mills and C.J. Stroud have actually done a better job, and they use Case Keenum a lot to kind of get used to it because Case Keenum knows how to command the huddle, get the play calls out. Keenum's been a starter for multiple teams and over multiple years of his NFL career, and so they've kind of leaned on him to get things going. Dalton Schultz said earlier this week that already you can see from C.J. Stroud making an improvement in that very area. So, C.J. Stroud, how you doing on the play calls so far as the franchise QB, or the hope to be franchise QB for the Texans?
At first, I wasn't really used to, just coming from college where you're really signal-based, but as I've grown and just becoming more and more comfortable doing it, I think I'm becoming better. You don't just want to just ramble it out. You want to tell a story, so it makes sense to the guys in the huddle. And even sometimes, like for me, I have to sit back a little bit and think about what I'm about to say before I say it, and then picture it in my head of the play and what it looks like, and just become more and more consistent while doing it, and just try to help those guys out, because the better I can spit it out, the better they can go out there and execute the play.
It's something that sounds so simple. Hey, call the play. Let everybody know what's going on. It's not as easy as we seemingly make it seem sometimes. And I like the way Stroud explained it. Hey, you got to get in there. You got to get these guys involved. You got to get them understanding it. You think back to some of the conversations we've had on the channel about Bobby Slowick teaching guys, hey, this is the why. This is the how. This is the reason we're doing things that way. And I like C.J. Stroud talking about, as I'm calling the play, I got to kind of see it happening and see how we're going to execute it so that I make sure everybody gets their element. of the play. And then I kind of thought it was funny when he was like, yeah, I got to kind of tell a story. And I was like, I kind of was thinking to myself, well, tell a story, like kind of like a performance, like a, not like a, like a Shakespeare, like a to be or not to be. I don't know a ton of play calls. The one that's probably easiest for me to think about is the old John Gruden Spider 2 Wide Banana. So maybe like a Shakespearean version of that. So you let, Dalton Schultz, if you're CJ Stroud, you let Dalton Schultz and Dameon Pierce and Tunsil and the rest of the offensive linemen. Spider 2, why banana? Spider 2, why banana? Okay, maybe it's not quite like that when he says tell a story, but it's nice to hear that Stroud in just a week's time has improved in that. Because again, Dameon Pierce last week, CJ Stroud, hey, sometimes he fumbles over the words. Earlier this week, Dalton Schultz, yeah, actually this is something Stroud does really well now. And then I even asked Dameon Pierce again about CJ Stroud and calling plays in the huddle. And he said, yeah, the jump from game 1 to game 2 and just the work that he puts in and the time that he spends, you could see it. You could already see the improvement there as well. So CJ Stroud checking a lot of boxes here as we approach the final preseason game. And then ultimately, shortly after that, the regular season, his first year in the NFL. The 2023 season is right around the corner. And we're going to have plenty of fun stuff for you here on the channel. Appreciate you watching today. I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel down below. If you haven't already, Houston Football is my website, www.houfootball.com. There's a link in the description to this video where you can check that out as well. I appreciate you watching this video. Can't wait for more Texans talk, and I can't wait till the next time that we talk some Texans here on the YouTube channel.